I'm like, wait, Zach, I gotta click the live button. Zach's like already coming to the backstage with all this excitement, and he's like, Jasmine, this is going on, and we've got all this and so many agents signing up. And I'm like, okay, Zach, pump the brakes. Let's welcome you onto the stage. So first of all, thank you so much, Agent Growth Circle members. Those of you that have made it through, you found the way to register. A lot of questions about where's the registration link? How am I going to see the video? It's right here. It's all in our community. When we throw a party, we want to make sure our party guest members know exactly where everything is at. And we just keep it all in-house. And that's what we're going to be doing with the Agents Growth Circle. We built this community to empower realtors on a nationwide level, to provide you with all the tools and all the resources that you can put in your toolbox when you are out on listing appointments. But before you get to the listing table, we're going to also give you some creative ways on how to generate more listings for yourself. Between expireds and for sale by owners, you need something unique. You need a strategic approach. And that's why we are so excited to welcome Zach. We've been working very closely with Zach at Homesale.Plus. He's already helped 5 of our referral partners get listings up on the platform. We got news today. And Xiomara, I know you're in the chat, so chime in on anything that I'm missing out. But we got news today, Zach. One of our partners, Manny Barrios, who now has 2 properties listed, is working with 5 brand new buyers in his database.
Wow.
Like for free.
That's one of the good positives. That's another benefit. Yes. And that's not even the main piece of the puzzle.
No, we haven't even got to the main piece. So without further ado, Zach, welcome to our community. We're excited. I know we're going to have you here consistently.
Oh. I think we may be having some technical difficulties.
Yes, we are. We're going to have to fix that. All right, guys, I'm going to apologize ahead of time for any technical difficulties. I have full bars, so nothing's going to hold us back. Zach, without further ado, please talk to us. What do you got cooking with Homesale.Plus? Why do agents need to know about this? Let me go ahead.
So first, to start off, my name is Zach. I've been a licensed agent for about 2.5 years. My father, Jerry, is one of the founders of this platform, and he was a platinum agent with RE/MAX for 20 plus years. So, this was built by agents based off of the issues that we've seen every day that happens. And there could just be a more efficient and better way that things are done. And that's what Homesale.Plus is going to show you. This is going to give you, whether new or experienced, a competitive advantage in your marketplace to separate you from other agents, to be able to offer sellers something very, very unique, something that no one else is talking to them about. This is something that I can guarantee you as an agent may have never even seen before. And I think you're going to find it very exciting, because not only does this help you get more listings, it can help you also sell more of the stale listings that are sitting on the market, and so many other added benefits, just like what Jasmine mentioned with Manny, 5 buyer leads off of a few properties that he has with agreements with. So that's just incredible. Those are just one small little piece to the puzzle that makes it just a great platform and a tool to have. And so I'll get started. I'm going to go through and show you exactly what we do, how it works, and kind of where we came from a little bit. And so we started the platform about 4.5 years ago, and we've listed a little over 1,000 properties during that time. And so we've seen pretty much a mix of every different scenario, probate, divorce, you name it, we've handled it. And so having something different is what means the most. And, the main thing, getting into it, what we do, our flagship offering is what we call Flexbid. Flexbid is something that is for your standard everyday home that you would help a client buy and sell. They need contingencies. They need financing, just like any standard deal, except everything is presented online for the offers, the price, the days to close, inspection, finance, anything that's included with their offer is shown transparently on the platform. So buyers, sellers, and agents are watching in real time at buyers competing against each other to give the seller the best offer in the end. So it's very unique. In a flex bid, the seller is under no obligation to accept an offer whatsoever, no matter how high the price or how great the terms are. They don't have to accept anything. The typical offer period is on for 14 days, sometimes 21, depending on the market, 14 to 21 days. However, it's up to you to decide that. At seller's discretion, they can stop it at any time. So when it goes active, even if it's a 14-day period, they get an offer they like on the second, third day, they can stop it, they can end it. So flex bid for your standard everyday home, but now bringing in transparency. That's what we're going to get into the most, and that's what we're going to talk about here in just a few minutes. One thing that I also want to mention that we do is standard auctions. Auctions are great for properties that can't be financed, or a buyer is going to be mostly an investor with cash or hard money, something that is just not financeable, and you're not going to get it passed with conventional FHA, things like that. With an auction, it's great because we never used to talk about this, but we found that some agents have a lot of properties that fit an auction platform where it's much better than just putting it as a standard listing and waiting for a buyer to come. A seller sets their reserve price. If it hits that reserve or goes above, they have to sell, and there's no contingencies allowed. It's just cash buyers, cash or hard money. Buyers, they bid it out wherever it ends at the end. If it's above that, that's great. The seller's committed. The buyer also pays all of the transfer, recordation taxes, closing costs, title fees, and they also pay a 10% buyer premium that's added to the winning bid. An auction typically goes for 14 days of marketing, followed up by 3 days of actual bidding. And just so you know that I know most companies we've worked with, or as agents we've worked with in the past with auctions, out of a lot of them, when you bring a property to them, they want you to fight to get your commission or your compensation. And they want you to.
I've experienced that. And actually, that's how and this is going to be a bit interactive because I want to make sure that the agents hear from the real estate side as well of things that we've experienced. So what I appreciated the most on the difference of doing auctions, because I closed like 5 deals on auctions last year. It was a really sweet side hustle to find distressed properties and put them up on the auction bid and just kind of put my hands up and let everything transpire. But what I didn't appreciate was that I had to fight for my commission. So I'm really glad that you offer that. And I want to make sure that everybody knows any questions you have, like put them in the chat. We're going to get to them. We want you to engage. We want you to ask questions. I didn't get this the first time around, and there's a lot of information to unpack here. So I don't want you to scroll around. Like, this is some good stuff. This is gold nuggets here. So write it down, ask questions, continue, Zach. My apologies, but I've done the both. So I know that I'm much more happier on the home sale side.
Of course. So this is just an auction. This is something we do in the back end just to let you know if you ever have a property that fits that description. We're going to be talking mostly about flex bids today, and I'm going to go into much further detail with those. But just so you know, we also do auctions. This is an example of a flex bid sale. This is it was actually an owner operator of this brokerage here, and he listed this property. His client, they were looking to net somewhere around 410. They were going to list it, and they were assuming because of the market, they thought they may have missed it, that they would have to back the price down, and she would end up somewhere around 410. They put it on our platform for 2 weeks using our pricing strategy, and they started at $350,000. In 2 weeks, they generated over 100 showings, 17 different buyers going back and forth, and they had a contract price of $455. The seller actually ended up netting in that deal close to $440,000. And so it worked out tremendously well. The seller was ecstatic, and it was a great way for everyone there to participate in that property. This is an example of an auction sale. This client, this agent here, she actually brought this property and was going to use Flexbid, the standard sale with transparency contingencies. But she started telling us a little bit more about the property, how it's going to be as is, an investor. It needs a ton of work. And, it's not going to be someone that can come in with financing. And we said, oh, you're going to want to do an auction. It's going to be better for your client. There's no need to let people offer contingencies. It's going to be cash buyers. So she went to her seller. Her seller loved it. They set a reserve of $270. We started at $150. In the 14 days of showings, they had over 100 showings. Then they had 175 incremental bids, and it ended up at 328 net to the seller, which was close to $60,000 more than what her reserve was. And the buyer paid a 10% buyer premium on top of that. That covered the commissions as well. The buyer paid all the closing costs, transfer recordation taxes. This was a great example of an auction. The one thing I want to note before moving forward is, if you were to take a turnkey property, a property that people can have financing, any type of terms they want, if you took this home into an auction, your pool of buyers shrinks tremendously because you're only getting cash buyers. The beautiful part about Flexbid is, while it's transparent, it's exciting, buyers are going back and forth competing, anyone can have any contingency. So you get cash buyers with conventional, VA, FHA, everyone pushing up those pricing terms even higher because you have a much bigger pool. And so with those two things, we show agents, whether new or experienced, how to create a blue ocean strategy for yourself. On the left-hand side, no matter what market you're in, everyone is competing, fighting it out for the same inventory with the same method of the way homes are sold, the blind bidding traditional way, top-down method. And everyone's telling a seller the same thing. Of course, we have different ways that we're talking to a seller, how to promote ourselves, value add, as is, how to get the seller from start to finish. However, the traditional way of selling a home is what everyone is pitching to them. They're hearing the same thing. So now with Homesale.Plus, you shift into the blue water, because when you're talking to a seller, you have something fresh and new, something exciting that makes sense to them. But most importantly, something that no other agent is talking to them about. Having separation and having a competitive edge is more important than ever now in real estate. But in anything that we do, if we can get a competitive edge, we need to jump on it right away. As I mentioned before, I've been licensed for 2.5 years. And when I first got into real estate, I came from the car industry. I didn't have any prior experience besides listening to my dad and things like that when I was a kid. I knew nothing. When I came in, I saw the pitfalls very quickly. And I was thinking to myself, how does this make sense for people to buy and sell homes? And I was able to start cold calling for sale by owners and expired leads after learning how to use Homesale.Plus. And I was able to convert 14 for sale by owners and 1 expired lead in my first year of doing business. And this was not because I was better than anyone, I was better than this person. It was because I was different then. And being different is what matters the most. How can you differentiate yourself from everyone else in the market and provide more value to a seller?
Okay, Zach, I know you got their thinking caps on right now. They're looking at this and they're like, wow, okay, how can I get in this blue ocean strategy? What approach can I take? Most agents don't even like to make phone calls. So the fact that they have something unique and differentiating the approach will give them some encouragement to make phone calls. I know it has for us. Agent Growth Circle referral program, between our ISAs and our callers, we scheduled 3 appointments this week. 2 of those 3 appointments came from data that was a year old in our nurtured database. I got the proof. If anybody wants to see it, I'll jump on a Zoom and I will show you the follow-up boss that the lead was in, how long it was in there for, how many emails, how many messages, how many phone calls. And all we did was offer a unique approach to gain more exposure, to drive more foot traffic to your house. Ultimately, that's what the seller wants. Because when we present it in a way that we explain to the homeowner, do you think, Mr. Homeowner, that if we got more eyeballs on your property, more foot traffic through the door, and more exposure, do you think that our chances of selling this property are higher or lower? And in today's market, wherever you're at, I don't know what you're facing, but here in Florida, we're seeing properties on the market anywhere between 45 and 90 days. And without me going into this whole testimony, I want to just stick onto the blue ocean strategy and open your minds to the possibility of ocean of opportunities that you can take by calling for sale by owners, by calling expired leads, which, by the way, Land Voice is going to be offering an amazing affiliate promotion to call those for sale by owners, to call those expired leads and pre-foreclosures, and give them an opportunity to test the market. There's no other way to find out what the market is willing to pay for your property in the amount of time that this program allows it to happen. So, yeah, Zach, I'm not trying to take over your presentation, but I had to get in the trenches and I had to swim in the deep waters in order to be able to speak with this confidence and this courage behind putting existing listings on the market with you. So,
Of course, no, very well said. And I always say, just like with anything we're doing for the first time, there's going to be some things that come up that we have questions about, or some nerves, just like the first time we ever help someone buy or sell a house. It's like, okay, let me make sure everything goes right. How can I do this? And just like with anything, you got to put in that work. You got to take the time to learn it. It's a very simple concept. But like you said, you have to be open-minded to joining that blue ocean strategy. And, piggybacking off of what you said, when you're talking to a FSBO or an expired, number one, they do not want to talk to a listing agent. You call them, they're like, oh, if you have a buyer, you can do this. But if you want to list my house, do not waste your time. And I always say that's what nice people say to you on the phone. They usually don't say it that nicely all the time. And I was able to go in right there, a brand new agent, and say, hey, look, I get it. You're getting nothing but phone calls, probably 50 plus a day from agents who want to list your house. I know that's frustrating. However, you give me a few minutes of your time, I'm going to tell you about something I can guarantee no one has ever talked to you about before. And you say that to anyone, it's going to be, what do you have? What do you have that 50 other people haven't told me before? They say, you got 30 seconds. And I'm 30 minutes later, I know their family, what they're doing, why they're moving, what their dog's name is. Things I'm not even asking them. They're just telling me because it's valuable information that they're receiving and it makes sense. And we start with the premise. Why is there no transparency in real estate? Right? Everyone on this call here today, think about what we do in our lives, from buying cars, buying stocks, travel, telemedicine, taking an Uber. No one's waving down a taxi cab like they did 20 years ago. You're on your smartphone, you're on your laptop, with Uber, what color car's coming, what time it's going to get there, when you're going to get to your arrival. Everything in our lives are transparent, except for the biggest purchase and sale of someone's life. And if you were to get a mastermind group together and ask buyers and sellers, we're going to come up with a way to buy and sell real estate. You as a buyer, you're not going to know what the other offers are. You don't know why you lost a property. You're going to see a property settle that you really liked. And it's how it works. You're not going to really know what you need to do to compete. Sellers, for that reason, you may leave money or better terms on the table. It would be kind of laughable to say that people would say, I love that way. I love not knowing what to do. It's just a system of the way it's been done. And now consumers' minds and agents who want transparency and want better tools are open to the thinking outside the box of saying transparency is beneficial. And when you talk to a consumer and get them to think about a different way of doing things, they realize that it clicks and it makes sense. Because we start with, when we're talking to a seller, remember when you bought your home? Remember how frustrating that process was when you didn't know exactly what you needed to do to win, and you probably lost out on some of the properties you really liked, right? A lot of sellers will literally go into their own scenarios or situations because they've been in that circumstance before. Us as agents, we've surely been in that situation, helping a buyer, and you're trying to get information from a listing agent on how many offers they have or what offers they have. You get the same answers. Oh, well, we have a few offers over list price, but I can't tell you what they are. And it's always up to the seller to disclose offers or not. But you go back to your buyer and you're trying to give them, hey, look, they have a few offers over list. They're not telling me what they are. So we kind of let's position it correctly. Look, if you really want this property, it's listed at 300, let's go to 320 or 325. If it appraises, it's worth it. If not, you don't have to buy it. But most people in general are risk averse. We are more afraid of the fear of losing something than actually gaining something. And so while you can set a buyer up and tell them all these different things, different protections in their offer, they may go, well, what if I go to 325 and someone's at 305 or 310 and I'm just throwing away money at that point? How do I know? And it's like, look, we don't know what the other offers are, but we got to figure if they're over list, they're somewhere around here. So long story short, most buyers will hedge their offer. You'll write a 50-page contract at 310, 312, knowing that it's probably not going to win. The listing agent comes back and asks for a best and final. You go to your buyer and you say, hey, best and final, do you want to raise your offer? You get a shoulder shrug. Like, raise my offer? I'm taking a guess. Like, if they tell me what I need to do, I might raise it, but if not, just leave my offer. So long story short, you end up seeing that the property sells, they accept another offer, and 30 days later, you're still working with a buyer and they see that property settle and they go, oh my gosh, like, Jasmine, this house just sold for $3,000 more in my offer. Like, why didn't they come back to me? Why didn't I would have done?
I would have bought that. I had
Exactly.
that extra money on the table. Let's go.
And sellers go into those stories because if they could have seen, they would have done something differently. So the most motivated and capable buyer often loses out on a property, which is a crime in itself. And while that happens, it's frustrating for the buyer, but a buyer finds another property. And even if it's the third or fourth one, it was meant to be. They're happy that they found this one. They're happy the other ones didn't work out, but it's much worse for a seller now. A seller doesn't have that luxury of selling their property more than one time. You get one chance to maximize the sale price and the terms of your home. And if the buyers don't know what they need to do to compete, how can a seller truly know that they're getting the most money in the best terms, right? And that's why we created Homesale.Plus. Homesale.Plus with Flexbid is a standard everyday property that a listing agent will put in the MLS, and in the remarks, it shows offers will be accepted on Homesale.Plus. Here's the link to register. Here's the offer deadline, typically 2 weeks. However, seller can accept an offer at any time, so put your best foot forward. So from there, a buyer agent comes to the platform. They register by uploading a pre-approval or a proof of funds, depending on how their client's paying. They do not submit a written contract unless you're going to accept their offer. So it's very efficient. So once they get approved, they can come right in, offer their price, down payment, days to close, inspection, yes or no, and what type of financing or cash if they're paying cash. Anything outside of these categories in their offer, anything outside of these can go into a comment box. So anything good or bad that a buyer would need as a concession or anything that they need in their offer can go in here. And as a listing agent, you can click on these boxes next to the buyer numbers and see who the agent is, see any comments associated with their offer. And you can also click on this box next to the price to see their full contract breakdown of what they're going to pay. And so in real time, buyers are competing against each other, knowing what they need to do to win, going back and forth, changing their offers, whatever it is. They have all of the information there to make their most educated decision and truly put their best foot forward. And a seller knows they're maximizing the price and terms.
For those agents that like to do the hardcore negotiating and going back and forth, it's probably not going to be a good fit, right? But for those that can just appreciate the transparency, I know when we had our property on the market and we had a lot of agents trying to call and like go outside the platform and just give me the number. What does the number need to be? Like, let's just avoid all of this, you know? But the process is there for a reason. It creates the competition. It creates the urgency. It creates, and the transparency just kind of ties all that in. So there's no guessing. You just get to what's most important. Exactly. What is the buyer willing to pay? What is the seller willing to net? Let's figure out the rest and just get it done.
Exactly. And when you can see with your own eyes what you need to do to win, you will put your best foot forward, no matter what it is, a house, an item in a store. If it's you see other people wanting it, you're going to want it more and you will put your best foot forward. And now I completely get your comment as well about maybe some agents like to do the negotiating, or, you know, if they can't see my cards, maybe I might get a better offer, things like that. And I completely get it. However, we see the same thing happen on our platform, because when there's transparency, if someone wants to make a statement, they're going to make a statement. And, you know, we always say that no one would spite themselves of not putting an offer in for their client if their client wants a property or wants to put an offer in. There's nothing better than not having to submit written contracts, not knowing if you're going to have a chance, going back and forth, wasting time. Here it's like, hey, everything happens on the platform. Your buyer can actually make an educated decision of what they need to do. If they want to compete, great. But if not, they don't have to. But here's how it works. All offers are submitted here. It's a very efficient process. But most importantly, this is a listing tool. And when buyers compete, sellers will win. And so everyone gets notifications on the property, buyers, sellers, agents. When a new offer is placed or someone changes the term, So it really creates that urgency and that competition, almost like the FOMO effect. We've had agents call us. Some of our best agents are ones who would participate on the buying side. We just had an agent, a good example I'd like to use. She called and she said, I had a buyer who told me, put my offer in, and this is where the highest I'm going, don't raise my offer. Then she got notifications, 2 other buyers came higher than her, and she called her agent and said, raise my offer, I want this house, and she won. Her agent said in a best and final scenario, she would have never raised her offer and she would have just left it there and lost. But
That
because she
makes total
saw
sense.
other
Yeah.
people competing, she said, I know it benefited my buyer, but the seller is the one who won. If it wasn't transparent, they would have left money or better terms on the table, 100%.
Yeah.
So
I think it
benefits
also
everyone.
drives like this emotional drive, right? Because now they're emotionally invested in the house. They saw it, they liked it, they put an offer. In the back of their mind, they're like, oh, well, I would have went up to this, but they don't want to show their cards,
Yeah,
right? But seeing somebody else show their cards, they're like, wait, I got to get in, go higher before I lose out on the opportunity. So
for
that's good.
sure. For sure. And so the main strategy within the platform with Flexbid is the pricing strategy. This is very important because most sellers will want to start their properties high and go backwards, leave negotiating room to get to where they want to go. We all know that's not a good concept for a seller. That's going to set them up for failure, and it doesn't give them any data. We use an artificially low price to excite the market, to create a market. We typically average over 100 showings in 2 weeks or less on a vacant property. And the whole idea is this isn't a price the seller's going to accept. This is a price to make every buyer want to rush out and see that property right away. If you don't have people interested in the property and creating excitement, you're not going to have a good chance of getting multiple offers and creating competition. And so these are just a few examples of different county shapes, sizes, from $100,000 to $1 million property. The pricing strategy works. You can never go too low. It's only going to bring more buyers out and get more people interested. This is something that we would show a seller. Let's say they have a $500,000 property and they're looking to get $500,000. They also have a neighbor who has an identical comp. They're also looking for $500,000. The neighbor listed in the MLS traditionally with an agent starting high and going backwards. And you list your property with an agent in the MLS, but accepting offers on Homesale.Plus, and you start yours at $395, your neighbor gets 10 showings in a month, you get 100 showings in 2 weeks. Who's going to win, right? Sales is a numbers game. Just like the law of gravity. If I drop this pen, the law of gravity says it's going to fall. The law of sales works the same exact way. If I can drive 100 people into your home rather than 10, you're going to have a much better chance of getting competition and getting a price that you like or above. This is the cherry on top for a seller. When you're talking to them, you're saying you've got something they've never heard of before. Use a pricing strategy to drive in every buyer in the market to get eyes on their homes. Any other properties are going to fade away in the back, and they're going to look right at yours, and they're going to want to come out and see your property. From there, buyers compete transparently, knowing what they need to do to win, going back and forth. When the market competes, you see where it's going to go. And in the end, when you accept an offer, you say, hey, 500,000, 10-day close. This is what you're getting. There's no commission that comes out of the price that you accept. Of course, this is only commissions. Their taxes, title fees, whatever closing costs are separate for title fees, things like that, their mortgage. This is for commissions. There's no commission that comes out of this price they accept. So when you're explaining that to a seller, they're like, 2 weeks or less, I don't have to accept any offer. I'm going to see everything in real time, buyers competing. And when I say accept an offer, there's no commission coming out of that price. Well, how do I say no to that? How do you get paid? How does that work? It's very simple. Everything shows offers don't include commissions, and everyone knows they're competing to show the seller the net amount of their offer. So when a buyer comes in here, they register, they agree to the terms, they know how this works. They can plug in the contract price their buyer's willing to pay or the net to seller amount. Most of the time they fill in exactly what their buyer's willing to pay as a contract price. And with the commissions included in the deal, it's going to automatically calculate and show what that seller's going to receive before the commissions. And so for a buyer, it doesn't end up any differently, right? As long as they're willing to pay a contract price of X amount and they see all of the commissions for the first time in a deal, rather than them being baked in and they don't see it until settlement and what the seller's getting, they're offering this contract price, they see the commissions in the deal, and they see what it's going to net the seller after those commissions. So it doesn't end up any differently for the buyer. It goes to contract, it goes to settlement, just like any standard deal. For the seller, it's very, very powerful because they feel, hey, 2 weeks or less, I don't have to accept an offer. And when I do, I'm seeing what I'm going to get with no commissions added. That's great. What do I have to lose? What's the risk? It's like, right, I'll send you the agreement to get signed.
I think it's a sweet spot between you get to test the market, you get to see what the offers are. But also there's a lot of unrealistic sellers. And if, depending on what market you're in, I know we have some agents in Texas. Texas is in the house. I saw some of my referral partners out there join. So welcome. I know Texas is a faster moving market. But here in Florida, we do have some unrealistic sellers that want like high prices. They think that we're still in COVID. Like we need to sell high, just like the buyers still think that we're in COVID. They want low interest rates, right? So it brings the expectation of the seller a tad bit down, because if they have high expectations and you have what comps show that the property should be listed, and then you want to like take 10% off of that because if you want to be competitive, then you got to go a little bit lower than what the competition is. Here you get to go a whole lot of lower, bring in a whole lot of activity, and then as the property is being shown, the buyers can decide if they want it. But the sellers realize, wait a minute, I've had 30 showings and this is the highest offer I got. Maybe I am, shooting for the stars a little bit too high here. So it does help with a price reduction if need be, if you don't get it sold on the platform.
Of course. Yeah, very well said. And look, there's three things that'll happen. And obviously, look, this isn't magic, but this sells a lot of properties and sellers love this process. And one of the things is, look, if you have a $500,000 home, we're not telling a seller you need to lower the price. We're coming up with a strategic pricing strategy. This is a strategy. They're not going to accept that offer. But let's say you have a $500,000 property and we believe it's $500,000 and we list it at $395. We should get everyone out here wanting to look at that property, get 50 to 100 people in, get 10, 15 people making offers. And you're going to know in the end what the market's willing to bear. Now, let's say you list the property at $395, you get maybe 20, 25 showings, you get a couple people making offers, and it falls short 30,000 of what the seller's looking to net. I've had sellers word for word say, Zach, I saw the traffic that came in. I saw the people making offers. Maybe my expectations were off a little bit, and we get a deal done. Doesn't mean they have to accept that offer, but the seller has data. The seller has real data that they can actually see and make a decision. Hey, if I want to sell, this is what the market's willing to bear. If I want to take it off, maybe 2, 3, 4 months, a year down the road, I might get that price, but it gives them the data. When you start high and go backwards, you don't know where it's going to end up. You don't know, how many showings. You don't know how many people or who's going to come in and make an offer at any point. When you start artificially low, the market will speak. You can never underprice a home. And now the third thing that's going to happen is you price a home at $395 and you get no activity. You get no one coming out there. You have a real demand problem that you can show your seller. This is going to be a tough property to sell because of a few different reasons. So you gain value no matter what. You gain value no matter what. And so it's very beneficial in all of those situations.
Yeah,
so
that's exciting. I'm just curious. We've had a good number of people stay on through the whole way. So I want to thank everyone that's still on and still learning. It shows that this is something that they might be interested in. And Zach's going to tell us, a little bit more about what the next steps are. Like, we hear how great it is. So you're probably wondering, how does this apply to me? If you have a stagnant listing right now that you've considered doing something different, you might be losing out on the listing soon expiring, or just unrealistic sellers. We'll be able to get you in contact with Zach to do a consultation and just see if it's a good fit. And then, Zach just tell us what the next steps are, because I want to dive into some questions. I know people have questions about this. I want this to become a strategy session here.
Of course, no problem at all. One last thing that I'll answer, which I'm assuming will be a question, is here you can obviously see the commission fees. This is just an example. We don't dictate what they are. You choose whatever this is here that we fill in for you, that they'll see when they come in. Our fee to Homesale.Plus remains constant. That's our fee. But remember, this doesn't come out of your commission. It doesn't come out of your seller's net that they're getting. All of these commissions are added to the price your seller accepts. It's included in the price the buyer pays. So that's our fee there. There's no startup fee. There's no subscription fee, things like that. And so getting into the nitty gritty of it all, of course, I do want to go into these couple case studies real quick. This is always beneficial.
Yeah, definitely go for it, because we do have people from other different markets. So I'm glad that you have case studies from other markets. That's awesome.
Yeah. So this was a property a seller came to us and he wanted to net $420,000. He loved the platform. He knew how it worked. And he said, okay, what are you guys going to start it at? We said, you want 420? We're going to start at 295. And his eyeballs popped open and he said, 295, you know, people are going to think it's worth 3 or 320. How's the market going to know? We said, look, you have a beautiful home. We believe it's worth 400 plus. At 295, you're going to get everyone coming out here. And what you just did, getting wide-eyed, is what we want the entire market to do. That's the reaction we want to cause. And if we can get 50 to 100 people out here, 10 people making offers, you're going to win. And so he said, look, I'm a little nervous, but I get it. I trust you guys. I want to use a platform. Let's do it. So we put it on for 2 weeks. And remember, a seller can accept an offer at any time. So after 7 days, 89 showings, 9 different buyers, a seller net of 463 and a contract price with the commissions, this buyer paid 497.80. The commissions do come off the seller side of the sheet at settlement out of this contract price. So it doesn't end up any differently for the buyer there. The main thing is he netted $43,000 more dollars than he expected to. We put a comment in on the seller side, which you can do this. We typically let the buyers just compete and go at it. But we put in, because we thought both of these two high offers were above appraisal. We said, buyer number 2011885, will you remove your appraisal contingency? They said yes right away, got the deal done. Everyone was happy. The buyers were a young family. They lost out on houses over the past couple months. The buyer agent said he knew when they saw the other offers and he could see them, they were not going to lose this house. And so everyone won. It was a great situation. Seller sent us referrals. Everyone was happy. This is a property in Virginia. This agent has used us a few different times, even sold vacant land on our platform. The seller had a appraised value at $1.3 million, and he suggested a $995 starting price based off of his past experience, which was a great starting price. But the sellers did not want to go that low. They allowed him to price it at $1.295. And so we don't like to tell a seller no, but after so many listings and different things we've seen, those are our best practices of you can never go too low. So we still put it on. After 5 days, he said it was going to have demand, and it did. 5 days, they had 35 showings, 2 buyers go back and forth, and they ended up with $57,000 over their appraised value, their target price. And with the commissions, almost $1.465 million, they chose the second highest offer because this, remember, it's not an auction, not just price driven, because it had a quicker close and it was full cash. Now, the agent came back to us and said, if we price at $995, they would have probably had double the activity and double the offers and a higher price. We just had a property where the seller wanted to net $1.5 million, and that would have been the highest price ever in their neighborhood, which we didn't think was possible. We put it on at $995, and they're under contract at $1.6 million, the highest price ever in their neighborhood. So you can never go too low. It only will generate more excitement and activity. This is the last case study. This is one where we like to show for the ending, because this agent went into this property and the sellers were already predisposed to doing an auction with a different auction company. They didn't know about Homesale.Plus. And so when he went in there, he said, look, you have a great property. It needs a lot of updating, but it can definitely be conventional financing, possibly FHA. If you take this to auction, which I can do an auction, but you're only going to have a very small pool of buyers. You're not going to get as much money for this home. I have something called Flexbid that has the transparency and the urgency and the pricing strategy, but everyone can compete. So we'll have a much bigger pool of buyers. They went with it. They loved it. He got the listing because of it. They priced it aggressively at $200,000, looking to get $350. They went the full 14 days, 111 showings, 9 different offers, 32,000 more than what their projected net price was. And if you take a look, the second highest cash buyer stopped at 350. If this was an auction, this high buyer that won would have only had to go to 351 or 355. They would have won. But because everyone competed, these two conventional buyers ultimately pushed a cash buyer up to the top, and they got exactly what they were looking for. If they didn't do this way, the Flexbid, they would have left $30,000 on the table. And so this is a great example of when you should do an flex bid versus an auction, because it's very beneficial. And so, you know, we offer different marketing materials, PowerPoint presentations, flyers, door hangers, so many different things. We offer professional photos at no cost to you. If it doesn't sell, you don't owe us anything. And so we offer a lot of different benefits because we are agents, and we want to help agents get to their end goal and do whatever we can to help them. And so that's
Zach, I love that you guys have like, we call it the air, land, and sea approach here at AGC. And one of the things that you and I really clicked on was the fact that you don't mind picking up the phone and making phone calls. In fact, I know that we're going to have a live cold call challenge, calling for sale by owners, this month in the community. I think we'll post it towards the end of the month. And what I like is that you have this other material that can go hand in hand with it. So for those that don't know the air, land, and sea approach, when you're generating leads and converting leads, if you think about it from an air, land, and sea approach, you can hit these properties in all target levels. The air approach is making the phone calls, just reaching out to homeowners, reaching out to expires, reaching out to for sale by owners, which, by the way, if Shamara hasn't posted a link, we have a link there for you guys to find out information. Land Voice is giving special affiliate credit and pricing and promos for sale by owners, expired leads, for you to be able to call them with this approach. But now you hit the land approach, which is the flyers, the marketing material, the mailers. We want to show homeowners that there is a different way to get their house sold, that they don't have to go through the cookie cutter traditional method. And there's nothing against that method. It's just that in the markets that are stagnant, in markets that we are having difficulty, you have to be a differentiator. You have to like bust the door open and do something different. So when you have the air approach, when you're making phone calls through cold calling for sale by owners, Land Voice, expireds, when you have the land approach, you're door knocking neighborhoods. Something that we teach, and we'll be having a community very soon that we're building, which will teach you lead generation and lead conversion skills around these partnerships that we've built. It's going to give you a competitive advantage, because think about putting up a listing on the platform and all the activity that you're going to get from it. It's going to annoy some neighbors. That gives you an opportunity to door knock, have those conversations with the neighbors and say, Mr. Neighbor, I just want to give you this information. We actually have a listing that's going live. We have an open house this weekend, and I want to let you know that there's going to be a lot of traffic here. Only one buyer is going to buy this property. So by any chance, do you know anyone else that's looking to sell in this neighborhood? Because I'm going to have a ton of buyers that are looking to buy in this area. Boom. There's just so many pieces that when it's put together, you will become a strategist. You will no longer just be a real estate agent. You will have strategies and solutions and a toolbox full of tools.
Very, very well said. And one thing else I will add quickly is, you can think outside of the box yourself with this too, because it doesn't have to just be FSBOs and expireds, but they are great because they need something different. They need something different, and they're getting calls by nothing but agents who are saying the same thing. But think about probate cases, divorce cases, working with attorneys if you know them, being able to present transparent offers right there to a judge or to a court, anything that's so beneficial. Working with investors. There's so many different great strategic ways that you can work with this platform, and we can always discuss those a little more in detail. However, we can open up to some questions or anything else. The next steps, how you guys want to plan it?
Yeah, for sure. So thank you for pointing that out, because on the platform that allows the for sale by owners and the expireds. They also offer pre-foreclosures, and they also offer like for rent by owners and neighborhood. So yeah, tons of value there. I don't know if I can see the questions, to be honest with you. I'm gonna rely on Xiomara to send me a message here and let me know. But if you do have a question, please post it. I want to know from you, do you see this platform as being a great tool in your toolbox? What concerns do you have about being able to approach a homeowner with this current listing, or even someone that you want to generate a new listing for? And then, what would hold you back from just trying this out? What questions do you have?
Yep. And the one thing I always say as well is, look, this isn't for everyone, right? But it can be for anyone. And when you have it in your toolkit, just like the last example I saw, it could be the difference from you getting a listing, winning a listing, or just offering your seller a different option. When you have different options, you only have more value, right? And so it's a great way to just have that in your toolkit, so that when you talk to a seller, yeah, I've got a few different ways we can sell your property, and I'm sure you've probably never even seen this before. It's exciting. It makes a difference.
That's awesome. So Xiomara's already been busy in the chat. We didn't even know, but she sent me a screenshot. So Clara wants to ask, can the seller cancel without any fee in the event the offers are not acceptable to them? And Xiomara answered yes.
Yep.
Just letting you know what some of the common questions are. Based on the numbers shown, is the commission based on the net to seller or the contract price? So
the commissions are calculated on the net to seller amount. So whatever number they see there, the commissions are added to that number to create the contract price that the buyer will pay.
Right. So it's always going to be clear what is going to the seller and what the buyer has to come out of pocket for. Okay. Christoph with Land Voice. Oh, we have Land Voice on the call. All right. That's awesome. Thank you, Land Voice, for joining us. Zach, I got to put you in contact with Christoph over there. So offer transparency, something buyers have been hoping for. It's happening in almost every industry right now. Glad to hear Homesale.Plus is bringing it to real estate. So congrats to that. Can wholesalers partner with your realtors so their cash deals can happen too? I'm glad that you brought that up, Ellie, because we do have some exciting, there's just so much unfolding, but yes, definitely you can connect with Zach directly. If you're in the wholesale industry, if you work with wholesalers, or you want to find out how this platform could be good with investors, Homesale.Plus has a whole nother side to this, which is the auction platform. And like I said, as we grow the community and have sub communities within agent growth circles, we're going to have mastermind sessions regarding all of these topics where we can just go in and create all the information that you're asking for. We need to get this all out to them.
And just to quickly touch on that as well, it's great if you work with investors or wholesalers, things like that. First, if they have a fix and flip or whatever it is, they want to get the most money quickly, great option for them with no obligation to sell. But if you work with investors, things like that, let's say they have a bunch of leads every month, they can only close a certain amount of them. So now you can have a knockdown approach with Homesale.Plus that agents have proven to do, where you go in, you offer a cash offer, but they're not going to accept that offer. They can get more money for that home. So you say, hey, look, I can offer you this, and we can put it on this platform for 2 weeks. You don't have to accept any offer. And when you do, the commissions are added to the price that you accept. It's a great way to find out quickly if you can get more money for this house, because I think you can. They have an agent they partner with, and she gets so many listings. She built her career off of doing that knockdown. They get so many listings where those people wouldn't list traditionally, things like that. But the way it's framed, you will pick up those listings on leads that would just go to nothing. So that's just one little key point there to keep in mind.
Most definitely. We have a good question here. Do you guys help explain the process to sellers? I knew somebody was going to ask that, because that was like one of my first questions when I met you. I'm like, all right, Zach, my ADHD and my squirrel mentality, I can't grasp all of this. How am I going to present this to the seller? So go ahead and answer that.
Of course, I always say, just like anything, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to have to get the feel for it and you're going to get better with it over time. And it's a simple concept, but it's a lot of info at once. We get on Zooms, phone calls. If you have a seller, hey, I've got something exciting. You got to check this out. Let me get you on a Zoom. I'm happy to join. I've done it before, do it with agents all the time. And we close typically 95% of those sellers. And so it's a great way for you to see how we present it, the feedback from your seller, which is usually always positive, and you get that interaction and that experience. So we're happy to help you however we can in that aspect.
So you're telling me if I bring you at least 10 for sale by owners this month, you have a high conversion rate that you're boldly saying over 90%, and you'll help me bring this and expose this to at least 10 for sale by owners if I get them in front of you this month?
You bring me 10 for sale by owners, we'll have at least 9 of them listed.
Oh, all right, guys. I think that's a May challenge. All right. All right, Xiomara. Zach is challenging me. I'm going to bring him 10 for sale by owners this month, and we're going to get 9 new listings. I don't know, guys. You're going to stay behind because we're off to the races here. All right. So Zach said, I'm ready to start making for sale by owner and expired calls. Yes, Zach, get it. Let's go. Let's go. Zach is a firecracker. He's always on the go. He's already presented a couple of opportunities for us. Go, Zach. All right. So what are the next steps? I don't see any other questions. So those were all answered by Xiomara as well. Thank you, Xiomara, for helping us out in the back there.
So the next step, of course, is the getting started package of how to get started, how to list the property on the platform, receive a seller presentation, different marketing materials. However, we recommend joining another session to do a training to go more in depth questions, because just like Jasmine and we all know that you may not get everything right away, but whatever we can do, whether that's an extra session, whatever we can do to help you really grasp everything and have that confidence to start hitting the ground, we want to make sure you're prepared. It's never a good thing to just wing it and then not have a good success. We want to make sure everyone is successful and has the best outcome. So I can send the getting started package. I'm assuming that Jasmine will have all of your emails that we can send it out to. And then I'm sure you can be on the lookout from Jasmine and Xiomara as well for some more in-depth training as well, after this opening presentation, that I would highly encourage everyone to try to get on and see that as well, which we'll come up with the link and send that out to everyone too.
Yes, absolutely, Zach. We're really excited to just share not only our success, but also the challenges that we've encountered, such as having a property on the platform. It got a lot of exposure. So we were getting a ton of phone calls. So we're learning how to streamline those phone calls. We have now templates set up as text messages, reaching out to agents, kind of guiding them so that they can get familiar with the platform before they come to us. Because that's another thing. You're going to have the buyer agents like questioning you on certain things that you don't have all the answers to. And Zach is really nice and friendly and helpful, but he's a busy guy. And lately we've been keeping him even busier. So we want to make sure that everything is going to be streamlined. So you can look out for that. But for now, if you are interested, go ahead and put in the chat, get started, so that we can make sure that you have that getting started email out. Read through that email. I encourage you to go to the website, Homesale.Plus. Click around, play around in there, look at the properties that are currently active on the market. A lot of them, like I said, we have 5 partners that have properties up right now. We've been checking in with them week to week, and they're excited. They're getting activity that they didn't have before. They're getting brand new buyers that they didn't have before. One might even pick up a listing in the neighborhood because of it. So a lot of exciting things that are happening, but you won't know unless you're in it. So you got to be in it to win it. Go ahead and type get started. We'll send that out. And Zach, any final words, or Xiomara, any final questions?
Yeah, one thing just to end on, I know I pretty much said I'll just send the getting started package, but the main process, it's very simple to get started with a property. The main thing is we want you to be very confident with using the platform. Just like Jasmine said, questions that you're going to be asked, things like that. which is why that next session, we want to make sure you understand those questions, and they're very simple things. However, here's the process. If you had a property ready, if it's a new listing, we have an addendum that we send you, language that you get signed by your seller, and everything's very clear. Once we get that back, if you don't have professional photos, we'll schedule photos for you, and we create everything on our website. We create the listing. Christine, who will be tagged in that email, she just has to be included in all communication. She is a rock star. She's amazing. She'll get everything set up on our website, and then she'll send you exactly what you need to copy and paste into your remarks for the MLS. And then you put it active, and everyone is driven by those remarks and that new pricing strategy. If you have a property that's sitting on the market, depending on your area, because I know in Florida, you can't just cancel a listing and put it back up. You would have to do a price slash and add in our remarks and put it up as a new price. And people will say, well, why is it at this price now? My seller's trying a new method to see what the market's willing to bear. Put your best foot forward and they can stop it at any time. Simple answer. They're trying something different. But if you are in a market where, like we are in Maryland, we can withdraw a listing and put a new listing up and copy the old data. So it's a fresh listing with a new price. That's what we recommend. And now I just ask that you communicate with us. Communication is key. And as long as you're following the steps in that email and you're communicating with us, the transaction and the process will be very smooth. So I really appreciate everyone. I hope that it was exciting for you and you see the benefits. And I'm looking forward to connecting and working with everyone more.
That is awesome. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you stay connected in the AGC community. Next week, we'll be posting live phone calls. I'll be jumping on the phones, calling for sale by owners with this approach and some other approaches that I have with investors and other projects that I'm working on. And I'm excited for all of you to try this out. I hope this was helpful. Let's stay connected. Take care. Bye, guys.